A very warm welcome to all of you from the LawSikho team. I hope I'm audible to everyone. If not, please share your concerns in the chat box. Is the screen visible to everyone? Okay, so the topic for today's webinar is artificial intelligence and IPR. I'm sure many of you must be wondering about this question many times. And today, to enlighten us upon this question, we have with us Mr. Tanmay Agrawal. Welcome to you, sir. I would like to introduce Sir by giving a brief introduction about him. He's an, he's an assistant professor of law at Jagran Lake University. He's now pursuing PhD in artificial intelligence and IPR, and owing to the same, he has been invited as a keynote speaker over here. He had earlier gotten his BBA LLB from NLU Odisha and LLM from Gujarat National Law University. He has been a youth advocate for human rights and Indian delegate at conferences working on United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and had been an awardee at World Youth Summit. Mr. Tanmay has been invited to adjudicate moot court and client counseling competitions. Recently, he has also been invited as a speaker in FDP organized by Atal. He has also bagged Best Research Paper Awards apart from participating in 35 plus national and international conferences, 5 faculty development programs, and a few notable publications. Being a part of the academic fraternity, he looks forward to continue imparting legal education in many ways and also mentor students for their best productivity. So a very warm welcome to you, sir. So for today's webinar, we would be having Sir. Sir would enlighten us a little bit about artificial intelligence first, and then we would move on to IPR and then answer your questions. I request everyone that whoever has any questions, please type it in the chat box over here, and Sir would be answering them as and when required. We would generally prefer to take all the questions at the end of the webinar, but for the sake of not getting it a little bit monotonous and not just to avoid it, we would be handling it in between as well. So over to you, sir.
All right. Thanks a lot, Himi, for that wonderful introduction. And I welcome everyone on this forum of LawSikho, and I am as well glad to be here. So before starting off, I'm sure that all of us, we young, energetic minds, those of us who had taken out this evening, especially on such kind of a festive time as Dhanteras, I first of all wish you a very happy Dhanteras. And so just to set off the topic rolling, I would want you to know what artificial intelligence is, and that is how we are going to initiate our topic. And eventually, because the basic imperative area to be discussed is about the interlink between artificial intelligence and its legal aspects, as well as particularly about the intellectual property dimensions and how the IP law is interlinked with the artificial intelligence and what are the various nuances. I'm sure that these are pretty much the basis and the important aspects that are required to be there whenever we are talking about artificial intelligence and IPR in a single go, right? So I would want you guys to just let me know whenever you are like wanting to say something, or I would want to keep this session very interactive. All right. So yes, before I start off with my presentation, I would just briefly let you know that artificial intelligence, if we just briefly talk about this particular aspect, we define it generally as the intelligence which is exhibited by the machines. All right. So that is the basic and layman's definition about artificial intelligence. So just in the ways that humans and even for that matter, animals respond, let's say for, in their cognitive abilities. All right. So for example, we have such kind of a notion that we are driving a car, all right, and we see a speed breaker in front of us. So it is our natural tendency to respond to the external stimulus and accordingly act. All right. So that is very, very natural, and we would say that is very human of us to do that. All right. So with regard to that, I would just start it off. Uh, this is kind of a capability that one robot might not initially have unless and otherwise that particular software or the machine is taught to actually learn from its external scenarios and actually implement those things. All right. So I'll be illustrating various examples because that is the best way how you can understand artificial intelligence around you. All right. So because in the 21st century, we have lots and lots of many examples of artificial intelligence in our day-to-day lives, right? So may it be Cortana, may it be Siri, or may it be any other apps and examples of artificial intelligence. But before starting off with that, I would also let you know about uh, 2 to 3 of very lucrative areas wherein artificial intelligence has been used, and specifically we had a recent interaction with regard to sports, right? And IPL and fantasy league, all of those things already into the go. I would want to illustrate one example of artificial intelligence with regard to, let's say, cricket, right? So one sport that is watched almost by most of the people in India and widely acknowledged, right? So let's just see that if artificial intelligence is actually inbuilt to check upon the match highlights, that would actually enable that thing to get out the highlights of the match very well and very easily, rapidly, by just getting out the gestures and the applause that is already there into the stadium, right? So whenever there's a six, whenever there's a four, you definitely know that yes, it's a hooting time, and every all of those people watching the match, these spectators, they have a different energy, and that is very much apparent. All right. So if individually one particular person is actually set out to, let's say, check out the match highlights and sort it down, right? So that might take pretty much time as compared to one artificial intelligence software imbibed, or for that matter, if we are right now not well versed with the term of machine learning, I'll also be explaining that to you guys in the brief span of this 1 hour, right, that we will be discussing of it. So that is, those are various dimensions. All right, so let me directly start off with the presentation, and in the due course I'll be sharing across such more of legal definitions and terms. All right, so now I would be sharing my screen. Let me know. All right, I'll be having to request him to kindly permit me to present the screen. It's not happening
Yes.
right now. Yeah, please.
Yes.
Meanwhile, I would love to have your views about artificial intelligence. What do you think as a participant, and what are your main, let's say, wanting from this session? I would love to answer all of your questions, and like I mentioned, have a to and fro interaction as well. Right.
So,
So,
so I request you to give me 2 minutes. My net is working slow, so I'll
all
just,
right,
it's
all right,
taking
not a
time.
problem. Take your own time, Amy. Yeah.
Thank you.
So eventually, I'll explain you a couple of other examples as well, so that we are not back on time. So yes, like one example that I have given to you all about the let's say IPL and the uses of artificial intelligence in getting the match highlights. All right, so that is one very lucrative area wherein the AI could be applied. All right, so there are tremendous number of ways wherein such kind of artificial intelligence has been used for such domains. Right. So while I was talking about sports and sports law, we also have the strategies of various players. All right, so those things are also something that one AI, or let's say machine learning software, could actually imbibe, and the data of various players and their playing strategies could be fed into that particular software, and accordingly the training could be pretty much helpful with regard to that. Yes. So these are certain measures through which AI could be very, very much applicable in, let's say, sports. Otherwise, there are various ways in which even the application of AI has been used. All right. So I would take this time to introduce you to IBM's very own AI, which is Watson. Right. IBM Watson. right? So that is one particular artificial intelligence developed as of now. It's no fiction. It has very much been developed, and that particular software has the power of let's say even being able to detect any sort of cancer in just 10 minutes, right? So does that excite you? Yes. So just imagine that one particular artificial intelligence is imbibed with such kind of, let's say, technology and such kind of data through which it can have a scan of any person on this earth in just 10 minutes, and it claims to let you know about the possibilities whether that particular person might be affected by cancer, any kind of cancer. All right. So that is one point to ponder, and one thing that I wanted to share with all of you. All right.
So you can share your screen, green button.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I'll do that. Do let me know once you're able to see the screen. All right. Yes. Is it there, Hemi? Could you just volunteer and let me know?
Yes, so it's there.
All right. Wonderful. So yeah, once again, welcome to the session, and I would like to start off now by certain parameters and set the flow of the session. All right. So here we go. First of all, as I have been talking about artificial intelligence, what exactly is, right? How do we define AI, right? So AI is basically the intelligence exhibited by machines, all right? So the cognitive abilities which might be very natural and very human to humans, right? But is not in similar ways for the machines. They are needed to actually be fed with certain codes, and till that time it would just be one machine learning, all right? But the moment it is able to understand the atmosphere and its external surroundings, and accordingly take cognitive actions, right, then is the time when it is differentiated with a normal program, and it becomes an AI. All right. So that's just a very layman's understanding for you to have a basic idea, right? Because without which we might not be able to go ahead with the session and interface AI with law, or for that matter, artificial intelligence with IPR even. All right. So I hope that's about it. Right. So getting back, I would like to introduce all of you to the pioneer, the person who had defined AI for the very first time, who is John McCarthy. All right. So he is the winner of the Turing Prize in 1971, and he had defined AI as making a machine behave in a way that would be called intelligent if humans were so behaving. All right. So nevertheless, like, of whatsoever understanding, or let's say whatsoever notion that you might be having about yourself, you definitely are intelligent as respect to any other provision. So with that, and I would like to set the flow further with quoting Elon Musk. So he says that AI is something that is risky at the civilization level, not merely at the individual risk level, and that's why it really demands a lot of safety research. All right. So we have lots of theories that are talking about extinction, and I'm sure that all of you must have come across movies like Terminator, and even other science fiction movies that might be having talking about, let's say, the extinction of mankind because of robots coming up and taking over the world. All right. So those are certain, let's say, fictional ways that I would like to keep it till there, because we have been various having other let's say researchers and people who have been talking about AI. For example, Stephen Hawking, Bill Gates, they have all been definitely letting us know about the responsible use of artificial intelligence, and so as to not make it to that level. But also Jeff Bezos, the person behind Amazon, had also talked about AI, and they are actually using it. I would come to the examples very soon. So he has particularly put a stop of all of these talks with regard to just quoting it as fiction, and he has been stating that the point of AI that we have right now is not capable of all of these things. All right. So we'll gradually be coming up with regard to the strong AI, what is a weak AI, then machine learning. All right. So before that, I would want you guys to have a quick look over this particular AI cognitive self-learning abilities. So are you able to see the screen? the four classifications. Amy, could you just
Yes, sir.
all right, wonderful.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, great, great. Right. So we have big data, we have reasoning, we have learning as well as problem solving. All right. So just as I mentioned to all of you, that it has to have a capability of analyzing very simple problems, complex problems, and be able to have that mindset of solving the problem. All right. So that is what makes it cognitive, right? And that is how we basically comprehend and come up to define artificial intelligence, right? So it also has to have a kind of a reasoning. It has to be able to deduce and to induce, right? So the various ways, and based on the situations and the external factors like I've been mentioning. All right. So further, let's just have a checkbox, right? So there are a list of 5 things that might let us know whether artificial intelligence is actually intelligent. All right. So let's just have a quick glance of all of this. So these are the things that a human brain can do. All right. So we would be comparing whether an AI could do these things or not. All right. So the first one, drawing a relationship between unrelated concepts and making sense of a situation. All right. So for example, to cite the best example of the AIs as prevalent right now, as in the picture on the right hand side, we can see the self-driven cars, right? So that is one state of technology that is already there, and it's actually functioning pretty well. Although we had been having various faults at that particular test drives of self-driven cars by Tesla or other companies, but still it is able to draw a relationship between the unrelated concepts and actually make sense and uh, act accordingly. All right. So just the example that I've given you about the speed breaker coming up, or let's say any other vehicle coming in front of you there. So this particular AI is imbibed with certain responses of the let's say traffic sense, right? So that humans have. So that is actually taught to brake and halt when let's say there's some obstruction in front of them, or to follow, for instance, traffic lights. All right. So further moving on, other expressions, meaning based on contextual clues, then generating hypotheses and apply rules to make decisions, then interpreting handwriting. All right. So that is one very well, let's say, application of AI. I'm sure most of us would be knowing about a Google Lens. Can I have a response on the chat box, please? How many of you have come across that particular application on let's say Android? Do we know about aspects of, let's say, what exactly Google Lens is or what it can do? All right, wonderful. Right. So I have you very many yeses coming up. All right, thanks for the response. Okay, so we get back to the concept. So that is one particular AI which has been demonstrated, and that has been having this point of thing that is able to, let's say, have various aspects. For example, if I point out my particular cell phone and let's say try to show it my handwriting. All right. So out of all the people, let me tell you something, that it is very particularly my handwriting is pretty not that good, right? So still I was glad to see that even the particular application of AI that was even able to convert my handwriting into a text form in a Word document. All right. So that's something which is one thing that might not have been expected out of a normal software. Yes. So there ought to be lots and lots of data to interpret whether someone is making like in this way, or let's say, because every particular individual has a different accent, so speaking as well as even writing. All right. So that is a very crucial aspect. If one particular artificial intelligence is able to recognize the language, the word that has been written, and to convert that into the uh, supposedly its actual sense. All right. So same goes with the other examples of converting that into the voice into a text, right? So I'm sure all of you are also acquainted with the text to speech and speech to text softwares. Yes, I'm sure, since you know about Google Lens, these things were even earlier before that. All right. So such senses, then continuously learning and improving performance based on feedback. Yes. So that is always there whenever you are creating a robot, and that things are actually letting you know that what can be done or cannot be done. All right. So through that, the scientists are totally in a continuous way evolving that particular machine learning software and making it better, and day by day. All right. So since our topic for the discussion for the day has been artificial intelligence and IPR, these are a couple of the IP issues that I would point out before we are actually even coming up to it. All right, because it is imperative for us to understand intellectual property rights and its link to it. All right. So these are some questions that I would like to read out, and we'll be coming back to it once we're done with the AI details that I had promised you guys to, that I would be demonstrating about machine learning and other applications. All right. So still to set your the flow, and also you guys to think on these questions that I'm putting in front of you, so that we are able to take it up before we depart today. All right. So first of all, the issue of IP protection for AI generated works. All right. So who would be the rightful owner of that particular artificial intelligence or inventions? All right. So for example, there is one particular scientist who has developed one artificial intelligence. All right. So as we have the legislations of, let's say, copyright or patent, there are various ways and there are various measures through which a copyright could be protected by, let's say, computer generated works. I'm sure you guys are aware about that, being from the legal fraternity. Yes. uh, so uh, that is one question, whether this particular person who has actually evolved, or let's say made this AI, would be getting the rights to use over it, right? Let's say a patent over it. That is one question, because that is still not we do not have any legislation that let us know about that. That is still into question. And second one, hypothetically assuming that yes, if that particular scientist has got the patent over that particular AI that he has made. All right. So let's just assume that. Then secondly, if one AI has been given AI personhood, all right. So if that artificial intelligence is being given a different legal personality, as you have read it in the corporate law, right, that a legal personality has been given to that particular person. So then in that case, could that machine be an author, or could that machine be an inventor? So basically what I'm trying to say is whether that particular AI could be a copyright owner in itself, or could it be a patent holder in any case, right? So these are things that are just in talks right now, and there are lots and lots of many demonstrations going about it worldwide. Yes, because we do not have any legislation that clears it out. Leave India or even other countries globally, we do not have such laws that clarify that. All right. So let's come back to the rest of the questions when we're done with the AI part. All right. So yes, these are certain examples of machine learning specifically. I'll say that we are acquainted throughout our day-to-day lives. All right. So I'm sure most of you are very much aware about each and every of these 6 to 7 examples that are up on the screen. Yes. Alexa, Siri, Cortana, Google Maps, Uber, Facebook, Gmail, Spotify. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. All right. So having certain examples, let's just start by Alexa, Siri, and Cortana. All right. So these are the voice recognition systems which are used and which are able to facilitate and interact with a human user. All right. So that enables people to, let's say, give instructions to their AI on their, let's say, a laptop or their phones. All right. So if someone is saying something, that is made, it is programmed to understand that particular command and accordingly play it. All right. So for example, we have a very normal example like Alexa. All right. So if we say the word Alexa and we say Despacito, all right. So it imbibes that, it understands those two commands and plays the song Despacito, right? So that is a very general and a very simple example that you have been already using, right? So there are various many other examples. For example, if we are using Google Maps, all right, and if we have put up a destination from our starting place, it would directly lead us to that particular route and show us the best routes which have the minimum traffic. All right, so that is only made possible by various machine learning softwares uh, acquainted and along with the GPS, which is telling them whether that particular route has traffic or not. And similar is the case with the Uber. All right. Then we have Facebook to just illustrate another example. So on that point, I would like to remind all of you of the 10 years Facebook challenge. How many of us recall that? Yes. Tell me your views on the chat box, please. Yeah. So are you able to recollect the 10 years challenge? Yes. All right. All right. All right. Wonderful. So that challenge was all about, let's say, you posting up your current photo and one particular picture, let's say 10 years down the line. All right. So that would, let's say, would exactly not, that was not intended with that reason, and that was not shown to the audience with that reason, but somewhere or the other it has been constantly said that it was just to strengthen their AI softwares and their machine learning abilities. All right. So basically, once you have your picture and current picture, and parallelly besides that, you have your 10 years ago picture. All right. So that enables to that particular software to have that kind of a demonstration and have that kind of a data fed to it multiple times. All right. So basically, that is evolving its AI and its self-learning abilities. So a huge database. For example, if we have the FB users in billions, all right, so the billion database could be accumulated, just brought together, and accordingly that could be used to analyze the further trends, right? So that is how we are having coming up with such kind of apps that could show what your face might look after 10 years, right? So the levels of changes that have been seen have been replicated in the other way around, right? So this is a very common terminology, and this is a very basic thing, and I'm sure people from the engineering background would know that. That is about the reverse engineering. Yes. So it is just getting back to those things in that sense. All right. So
So
further,
an attendee wants to know,
sure.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir. Sir,
All right.
an attendee wants to know that how far is India catching up with that pace of placing artificial intelligence in manual law work with legal technology, such as the fields of contract drafting?
All right. Would it be possible if we take the questions at the end? Because I guess the flow of the session might be breached. Is it
Sure,
possible?
sir. Sure, sir.
Wonderful.
Sure, sir.
I have taken a note of it, and Somita, I'll answer that question definitely. All right. So thanks for the question. And yes, the next slide that I was putting up with you guys was about the sports. Yes. So before sharing up the slide with all of you, these were a couple of the things that I had already shared with you. Yes. So the analyzing the patterns of a player, right? So on the left hand side, we have a player which might be, like his multiple moves could be analyzed, and on the right hand side we have the nodal shot placements. All right, so the tennis and like the placements of the balls which have been hitting on the left hand side or the right hand side, and similarly we have been having such things in cricket as well. All right, so these are some things which have evolved through AI. Right. So let's just quickly have more examples of AI in our day-to-day lives. We have virtual reality headsets, right, which has a stimulation of a 3D environment, and other facial recognition softwares, robotic interactions. Online customer support is a one very great example. All right. So basically, for example, even if we are accessing to any website, there are always the small chat box that are appearing. Yes. I'm sure you would be acquainted about that. So apart from that, even the normal customer support, usually since the frequently asked questions are very much the same, pretty much repetitive over the period of time. So even AI has been helping to categorize all of them and answer them one by one. So that is actually saving a lot of labor and saving a lot of energy of the humans. All right. So that has been sorted through that example. Then the other examples that I have already cited with you guys was the IBM Watson that is capable of detecting cancer in just 10 minutes. All right. Then I'd also told you that Jeff Bezos has been also using various AI around Amazon, and that is not just with regard to clicking off by the user to select the products that they want to order, but from there to picking them up from the relevant shelves, packaging those items and shipping to the customers. All right, so the whole process is actually automated. All right, so that those are the levels of AI that we have reached to. All right, so this is once again one more very interesting fact that I wanted to show all of you. So this is just a blurred picture of a collage of various let's say beauty pageants. All right, so recently in the year 2019 we had one particular beauty contest in which the judge was artificial intelligence. All right, so that actually had given the results checking upon the back data of the various females bagging that particular beauty pageant awards. All right, and as a matter of fact, most of them were fair in their complexion. All right, so it automatically eliminated the, let's say, the people of from the black skin. All right, so as that could be very well said to be discriminatory, but that was what AI did. All right, so AI did not have any intentions to, let's say, discriminate, but it was just following the tracks and following the previous records, right? So eventually there were very less of them that we are having now in the coming years. So that is how that thing came into action. And okay, so yeah, we here come up quickly. We'll just go through about the various applications of AI in the whole world. All right. So as I have given you examples with regard to the consumer goods, the entertainment industry, customer services, we also have such kind of usage with regard to the law and defenses. All right. So I would like to quote Justice Chandrachud, who had gone to one particular conference wherein the discussions about AI and its application to the, let's say, judiciary, whether that could be able to make an impact. So to that he had very well answered, and he had basically stipulated, said that AI is not here to take up our jobs, right? So it is just here to supplement us and to help us with the already existing domain. All right. So basically, he had basically said that even in the justice delivery system, for example, there could be ways of trademark registration or like patent registrations. So if all of those sites are very well defined already, so then there is a very less requirement of a human judge to pronounce the judgment, right? Because there's exactly nothing to be said or talked about much other than just following the criteria, right? So if not patent at this age, trademark could be very well auto registered. All right, so these are certain applications of AI that could be dealt with. All right, so these would be the couple of final slides before we move on to the intellectual property rights and AI. And before we take up your questions, these are certain classifications of artificial intelligence that I would like to share with all of you. So we have something at the center of the screen that talks about a weak AI, and the other part is a strong AI. All right. So AlphaGo has been one game through which the AI learning has been evolving, and on the left hand side there is also one example of Despacito. All right. So these are examples of weak artificial intelligence. So basically, they are mostly machine learnings which have been imbibed with the codes and coding. All right, so that so for example, Despacito would not be able to tell you the let's say traffic or something else which has not been programmed into it. All right, so that is a single programmed language in this that is not able to multitask. All right. So on the other hand, we have a strong AI. I'm sure all of us would have seen the movie Iron Man. Yes. On the right hand side, we have a couple of photos of illustrative suits of Iron Man, that in which we also had that AI which has been demonstrated in fiction by the name of Jarvis. Yes, I'm sure we all know Jarvis, right? So that is still yet into fiction movies. All right, so that is still not into the actual scenario where we can say that yes, that is the level. All right. So with that, I would also like you to introduce you all to Sophia. I'm sure you must be following the news, and even Sophia has been granted the citizenship in Saudi Arab. Yes. So on that point, if you can understand that if a robot has become to such a level that it is being granted a citizenship, all right, so you can understand the quantum of rights limitations that ought to be given to her, right? So for example, she is holding a position of a citizen in that country, and God forbid, if there is a crime committed by this particular AI, what would be the next action? Yes. So we need to be thinking about the civil and criminal liabilities of AI even before we come to the intellectual property aspects. That is also very imperative. All right. So that also says that technology and innovation is presiding the legislative amendments, right? So technology comes first, and that is followed by the legislative actions and regulations to set up and continue with the flow. All right. So these are certain things that I wanted to highlight before we get to the IPR part. All right. So yes, this is another one of it. Since I've been constantly using the term machine learning, I wanted to let you know that this right hand side subset that you can check out very well. So artificial intelligence is consisting of all of the broader gamut. All right. So wherein machine learning is one of the subset, and in that, it is just using the statistical methods to enable the machines to improve with experience, like I talked about the cognitive self-learning abilities. And then comes deep learning. That is also one kind of a technical term that you should be acquainted if you are getting into the details. All right. So that is the further subset. All right. So not getting into the further technical details, I would just move on. All right. So yes. Finally, we have the 3 laws of robotics. I'm sure you all would be acquainted to this as well, because this has been talked a lot into the fiction movies as well, right? So if you have seen various other movies like Blade Runner, or let's say even Robot, right? So there are various things that have been inbuilt into it. So the first law of robotics, and when I say laws, I'm not meaning laws into the literal sense. All right. So these are the laws, like laws of physics, right? So basically principles, right? Because this is not something that is coded into a legislation. I'm sure all of us being from the legal fraternity know that as well. So the first one being that the robot should not and would not be injuring any human being at all right, through its action or its inaction. Secondly, the robot would be obeying all of the orders of the human beings unless and otherwise it conflicts with the first law. And similarly, the third law says that a robot should be able to protect its own existence till the time it is not conflicting with the first and the second laws. All right, so that's into order. Okay, so and what if not? All right, so this is the situation that we have been, like talking about the termination and such theories that have been coming up. As a matter of fact, so the future only beholds for us what we do not know as of now with regard to the, like AI gone rogue or certain theories that have been stipulating about the extinction. All right, so just on a lighter note. All right. So yes, now we are at such kind of a juncture that we could be proceeding with the IPR issues. All right. So before that, I would like to take up certain questions. So yes, now I welcome Himi to once again put up some questions, and we'll be able to take them up.
Yes, sir.
Please.
So the first question that came up is, Artificial intelligence is already in place with a lot of companies who deal with legal contract drafting in countries abroad. How far is India to catch up with that pace of placing artificial intelligence in manual law work with legal technology, such as in the fields of contract drafting, etc.?
All right. So contract drafting is something that is very upcoming, and that is there. So talking about India, if you're wanting to just know the situation of let's say uh, of India with regard to the technological advancements and the application of AI with regard to let's say contract developments or such other inbuilt softwares or on how it could be able to just like add on to the provisions of contract drafting. So it is pertinent for us to understand that right now, comparing with the rest of the world and where technology has been presiding and been taking over with regard to the legal aspects, India is also not that behind as compared to the present circumstances. Let's say contract drafting and such angles. I'm sure that the UK and the US have been such more advanced with regard to such applications just because they have been using it more on, and we in India have not been using it as often as let's say at that level, right? So it's not that far that I would preempt that India would also be at such levels wherein the contract drafting and, like I also mentioned, with regard to the application and registration of trademarks and even other forms of IP could be done by totally non-human interventions. All right, so that would be through artificial intelligence, right? So if that is answered, sure. Yeah, Amy. So you could come up with the next question, and in case there's a follow-up question, let me know. Yeah, so Himi, you need to unmute yourself.
So, do you think AI can help Indian courts to lessen the pendency of cases?
Definitely. So just like I cited Justice Chandrachud when he had made certain opinions, because I would like to quote someone who is actually into it and can actually be the authority to comment on it. So not citing my own views, I would just say that yes, they are certain views that have enabled us to believe the same, because like I mentioned, the areas of law which are, let's say, black and white, they might not need that kind of a, intervention from the humans. All right, so for example, where in the provisions it is very much apparent and clear that this thing could be done. For example, the areas where there's not much of questionable thing or question of laws to be put up, uh, in those areas the AI could be very well helpful in reducing the burden of the Indian judiciary to a great extent, right? So because, for just example, with registrations of trademark and other even criminal cases. So I would not say criminal cases to start with, because criminal cases are certain cases that ought to have the human touch, and those that is on a case-to-case basis, right? But with regard to such areas where the law is very clear and black and white, so I'm sure that the pendency of the cases could be reduced drastically on those levels.
Yes, sir. So, how far do you think it is advanced, or how do we take up a career in legal technology?
All right, wonderful. So before you are setting up your, let's say, your careers in such kind of law and technology, where you are actually uh, getting across with AI and, let's say, even contract drafting for a matter of fact, because contract drafting has also been helpful into that because of various clauses and everything that has been inbuilt. So it is always a step-by-step process, and I'm sure that the career counseling would be able to help you in such a manner that you would need to start off by actually understanding the essentials of contract, without which you will not be able to even understand such things in a basic understanding, and let go by the technical aspect. All right. So I would just suggest that for you guys to be able to get into such career options, you need to analyze all of the laws very well. And with regard to the carriers, with regard to, let's say, law and technology, you would be required to go through lots and lots of contracts that are already made. For example, I would just cite some of the transfer of technology cases that could be searched by you in on various platforms. There are various specific agreements that are being drafted. Okay, so even talking about IPR, there are various licensing agreements, there are various broadcasting rights and other provisions that we need to cover up, and we need to understand. So I would just suggest you to work more on those points. All right. So thank you for the question,
So,
Himi. I would want to continue with the our discussion, and if any
okay,
more
sir.
questions, feel free to
Yes, sir.
put them on the chat box. And since we are right now at the basic juncture where we'll be discussing about the intellectual property rights, and I'm sure that there are lots of many interesting slides and topics coming up, we'll be able to take it up. And I'm sure that some of the questions which are already posed, I can see on the chat box, would be answered on my upcoming presentation. All right.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
So with this, I would like to continue. Yeah. So that is it. Yeah. So I believe that all of us being from the legal fraternity and being law students, you would be somewhere or the other acquainted very well with the various IP laws. है ना? So let's say trademark, patents, copyright, trade secrets, plant variety. So I would just come up with 4 of them that has been broadly categorized. Without going into the details of any of them, I would just particularly talk about trademarks and patents with regard to artificial intelligence, because that is some area that might be overlapping, right? Unless and like unlike the others, like trade secrets and copyright. So yes, so trade secrets and trademarks, as we all know that what they are. So starting from trademarks, the protecting of the brands, apples, and all of those things that you already know. Then we have patents. There, the protection of the term is already prescribed, and I'm sure you must be knowing about that. Trademark 10 years, patent 20 years, copyright authors life plus 60 years, and such, so on and so forth. All right. So these were the questions that we had initially risen when we initiated with regard to the discussion. So I would want you guys to get back to it, and uh, I'm sure that most of you must have thought about these things. So we would be trying to take up these questions one by one. All right. So let's continue. So before moving ahead, I would want to demonstrate one very lovely example of copyright issue. All right. So how many of you are already acquainted with the monkey selfie copyright dispute? Do we have people who know about this particular dispute? All right. So yeah, we have many yeses once again. Wonderful. Okay, so before I set off starting up the page with regard to the whether one particular robot, or let's say artificial intelligence, could be the owner of a copyright. All right. So let's just see what happened with this lovely monkey. All right. This the copyright issue that was being floated, and basically what happened. To take you into the details of the case, I would. Yeah, so here are the facts. What exactly happened? So this is this British natural photographer David. He had traveled to Indonesia to take photos of such endangered, species of monkeys. All right. So he had licensed various of the photos, and when it was published, the whole issue came up on how and who clicked these photos. All right. So on that aspect, this thing was taken back that these 2 photographs, or many of them, out of which these 2 were published into the general media. So it was held that whether this kind of a thing could be given copyright to the monkey, because the monkey had himself clicked these photos while the photographer was away, leaving his setup in that piece of land in the wildlife. All right. So as we can very well see that the monkey is smiling apparently, right? And even a full body selfie he had managed to take very nicely. All right. So with regard to this, there was a huge question coming up whether that particular human who did not even click the photo, just having kept that particular camera, should he be able to get the license or to take the benefit of the fruits of someone else. All right. So the labor of someone else that we have been talking about in the theories of copyright and IP in general. All right. So this is the judgment of Naruto versus Slater, and this was taken up as a precedent in which PETA wanted to act on behalf of this particular monkey, uh, just by the psychology of PETA acting as the monkey's next best friend. All right. So eventually, because the monkey could not be heard by any of us, so that is why PETA wanted to just continue the case on his behalf. All right. So these things was once again a very disputable aspect, whether PETA could be permitted to be their next best friend just because of the thing that they have been working for the animal welfare, right? So that was something in its own. So eventually what was held up in this particular judgment was that the monkey had been denied the copyright claim. All right. So because of the fact that every definition of may it be it in the Indian Copyright Act or may it be in the UK or US, the all of those legislation define the term person. All right. So when we say person, it excluded animals from it. All right. So let aside the robot. All right. So for this point of time, we need to understand these points. So let's see what is further the debate going on. So like I mentioned, that AI generated works and the copyright debate. All right. So let's just check up the Indian legal standards and what are the provisions. Let's say section 2D of the Copyright Act 1957. Literally dramatic, musical, or artistic work, as we all know, which is computer generated. All right. So since AI could be like getting the copyright claim through the computer generated works, that was the closest as per the current legislation. I wanted to highlight this thing. Similar is the case in the UK copyright law. All right. So let's just have a short glimpse of section 9 subsection 3 of the Copyright Designs and Patent Act in the UK. It says that in case of a literary, dramatic, musical, or artistic work which is computer generated, and the author shall be taken to be the person by whom the arrangements necessary for the creation of this work are undertaken. All right. So furthermore, section 130, 178 of this act had been talking about the computer generated works and whether the human intervention could be there or not. All right. So these are the legislations that we have been talking about, and even coming up to the case of EBC versus DB Modak, right? So that had put up the modicum of creativity, distinguishing the earlier theories which were being followed by, let's say, for example, the labor theory, right? So it said that apart from the originality of the copyrightable work, the minimum requirement of creativity should be met, and it should not be merely a copy paste work, or let's say something which has been derived and something which has been paraphrased, right? So as we somewhere or the other we understand this thing to be. All right. So such are the legal complications and dilemmas, whether on how or even if this kind of let's say AI could be getting copyrightability claims, right? Further, so this is some kind of a debate that is still going on. So it would not be even vague if you or let's say any one of us could not be coming up to such conclusions of this debate, because even the greatest of legal minds are not being able to solve this issue as of now, because we do not have any legislation and we do not have such things. So it is just a matter of various opinions, right? My opinion, someone else's opinion, or some other aspects. All right. There is some debate that is still going on and it has to go on. All right. So if through this session, I was just able to, like get you to think about these concepts with regard to the copyrightability, or with regard to the artificial intelligence being able to get a copyright of its own, or let's say AI being able to get a patent on its own, right? So you able to just put up questions and start thinking I would take this session to be a successful one, because that is how the latest technologies and emerging trends need to be paced up with. All right. So quickly also just going through the patentability, since IP does not only has copyright amongst it. So I would also like to talk about patent, which has the maximum area with overlap with regard to artificial intelligence. All right. This is about the patentability of the subject matters. All right. So these are certain examples, and I would like you guys to think on these matters. All right. So now these are 3 examples. All right. I would want you guys to have a generic layman's understanding, and like not layman's. I would actually want you guys to at least apply the POSA test and everything that you know with regard to patent, and let me know whether these 3 of the technological innovations and artificial intelligence could be subject matter of patent or not. All right. So the first one, we have an implantable medical device that can stimulate and record neural activity. All right. So to basically put that into very simple words and to enable you guys to understand, it is just talking about some of the devices that are able to, let's say, monitor your heartbeat rate, monitor your BP, right, or just check up the pulse rate or such differences which are already existing. All right. So do you think that this could be patentable, a subject matter of patent? Yes. All right. All right. Then we have 2 more examples. Let's get you guys into the pace, and so that you can think on these aspects. The next 2 are software to control the device and the brain. So just imagine now it is going to the next level altogether. All right. So the earlier one, that was just with regard to analyzing your heartbeats or some rates that were already there. Now the second one leads you to this area where the software is controlling a mind altogether, right? That is something totally unheard of till date, only prevalent in the fictions and things, right, that we had discussed. Then third one that we have are the methods for treating neurological dysfunctions, right? So let's say as a matter of the progress of science and technology, wherein some processes for treatment of neurological dysfunctions could be there or not. So would this now be able to get a copy the patentability? Patent in सब मिलेगा नहीं मिलेगा? So that is one question that we are like we could start by, because these are the things that are very well researched on, and still I'll be sharing my views. All right. So before that, I would just take you through quickly through the essentials of. All right. So we have Shivam responding to the questions. Questions. So he said that the first example can be patentable. Second can't be, since it's a computer program per se. And we have Tejaswini saying that US medical devices are working on brain's human interface, which seem to be patentable, I feel. All right, wonderful. Very well taken. All right. So yes, we'll come to it. I'll just quickly take you through these patentability conditions. First of all, that we all know is novelty test, right? Inventive step, which is the non-obvious step, which is not existing in the prior domain or prior knowledge. Then third one, that is capable of industrial application. All right. So evaluating those examples in these lines, let's see what are the outputs that we have, right? So here we have the first one, an implant medical device. All right, so it's an article of manufacture and patentable subject matter. Why? Because the device itself would be treated as like a pacemaker or such kind of device. All right, so the pacemaker is very well into use, and like we even have lots of Fitbits, and we are already using such kind of technology for let's say running, and while we are running the heartbeat test and the pulse level that is deflating, that is already being able to suggest us whether what kind of a rate is there. And although we have a proper terms and conditions attached to it, it should not be treated as a medical test. It is just for normal observation. All right, so they come with various terms and conditions, but So very well, two of our participants were very well able to answer rightly the first question, that yes, it could be a matter of patent application, and it has already been granted patent. All right. So, but over here, this is, let's say, kind of a, let's say, not that kind of a strong AI, and it's still ongoing, right? Because it's just checking on to your nerves and letting you know. So it just still just a device, and let's say one application of machine learning or a weak AI, right? So that is a yes for that. The second one, we have software controlling or device implanted in the patient's brain. So under the current case laws, it could be could the patentability could be questioned, but if the claim is coming through the standard patentability test, it might be able to get it. But once again, getting back to the third part, wherein I would like to cite the case of Diamond versus Chakrabarti, right? So the patent eligibility has been talked about in this area, where the genetically modified bacterium, was it granted patent or not? Let's have it from you. Yes. So this kind of the patentability matters, the biological processes, could that be given or not? So even the answer that we had with regard to the third one, which was a process, all right. So the process was not granted a patent, although this kind of a judgment was a different one. But since we had the earlier one, I would like you to once again have a look to it. So the third one, the methods for treating neurological dysfunctions. All right. So as you know, that the methods of or processes or even mathematical formulas and such kind of agriculture methods could not be patented. All right. So they would just fall under the non-patentable subject matter under Section 3 of the Indian Patent Act. All right. So through this, we have just had a glimpse of what AI and copyright is, of what AI and patentable matters could look like. All right. So that's just a small glimpse from my end and some experience sharing, data sharing basically. Further, since at the inception of this particular presentation, I had let you know about the application of AI at various levels, right? So I told you that it could be applicable in the customer service base. It could be used in sports industry. It could also be used in the law and order, right? So various aspects. This is the actual data of the AI being used in such sectors from 2012 to 2017. All right. So as you can see, most of it is into horizontal level cybersecurity, healthcare, and IoT. All right. So similarly, the other areas are also upcoming. All right. So these are various gametes. As I would like to continue going on and on these topics, because this is something very, very interesting, and I'm sure I would be able to add on to it for hours and hours. There has to be certain end to it for now, at least. If required, we'll be definitely meeting once again and talking more about it. So before ending this, I would once again give you some small examples with regard to this. We have examples of AI applied on gaming. We have AI in the social media. Yes. So like the examples that I've given you of Amazon, Facebook using it already, right? So there are various applications, and that could actually help the human existence to evolve over the period of time. But considering the legal and ethical framework, there has to be certain code of conduct be framed and stipulated internationally. All right. So that is how the need is there. All right. So we need to have certain laws with regard to AI, considering especially the fact that some exceptional robots like Sophia have already been granted citizenship. So it is high time that we need to check on the liabilities, civil and criminal, both of them, and even the intellectual property aspects of AI. All right. So while I can understand that it has been a very intense session, I would just conclude on certain more light notes before taking up the questions. All right. So these were certain things that were discussed. So it says one quote by Stephen Hawking. He says that success in creating AI would be the biggest event in human history. Unfortunately, it might also be the last unless we learn how to avoid the risk. All right. So he is making us aware about the forsaken reality in case AI is into the wrong hands, or let's say whatever the theories that we have been having. So it is needed to be utilized by a responsible use of AI. All right. Then we have another opinion about AI, which says that building advanced AI is like launching a rocket. The first challenge is to maximize the acceleration, but once it starts picking up speed, you also need to focus on the steering, right? Because that would only determine where it is leading us to, right? So this basically says that if used to the right ways, you would be flying very well off and reaching to your destination. But if it's, let's say, ethical framework or the legal framework are infringing, or certain aspects are not very well done, that might not be very well as we planned it to be. All right. So ending on such notes, raise responsible AI for social environment empowerment, right? Such was the virtual summit organized by the government of India, and most of the AI enthusiasts had participated into it worldwide. And we had this event by the government of India, which had actually talked about the responsible use, and it had united various nations for a common cause to develop joint plans for action with regard to AI and its application in various dimensions, like we already discussed: health, education, skill impartment, and even addressing the ethical code of conduct. All right. So such are the demonstrations that I would like to go on and on. But for now, I halt over here, and I would love to hear from you guys. And even like we have been having various examples with regard to Iron Man and its AI Jarvis, right? So there's a lot that could be added onto it, and what all are the other expert opinions, views with regard to, let's say, IBM's software, Watson, and Sophia, and they're very more interesting topics that could be covered, and its interface with IPR and laws in general. And there could be once again another specific webinar for such a matter. Yes. And I could even go on about the interface of artificial intelligence with the sports law, right? So this is how I would like to hold for a while now, and make the floor open for the participants. I'm sure that at least some of you would have been at least motivated to more and to know more about it. And I would love to have your questions and hear from you. All right.
So we
Yes.
have a question.
Sure.
So as per the example that you gave, if AI practices discrimination on the basis of color, then against whom is the claim of discrimination brought if one wants to file a case?
All right, all right. So, like I earlier mentioned to all of you, that AI is not yet even given the personhood. All right. So, whatever discourses that we have undertaken till now with regard to AI and IPR, may it be copyright, may it be patent, everything is based on the hypothesis that AI person has been granted. All right. So if that is not there, then all of this research or all of this particular demonstration would go in this vein. All right. But answering your question, that could be for the time being just be held by the person or by the organizer who had used that particular AI for that particular purpose. All right. So that is something that is there.
Okay.
All right. So while we are answering other questions, I would love to have your opinions and your views with regard to the session, and other feedbacks if you are open to that. I'm sure you would be having much more questions and much more interest to know more about it. Let me know how you felt about that. All right, this session and everything. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So the next question is how artificial intelligence is applicable in domain of IPR, particularly in registration of non-conventional trademarks like olfactory and smell marks, which cannot be represented graphically as required by Trademarks Act.
All right, wonderful question. So, like I had even told you earlier, that that is a subject matter that is even right now complicated for humans to understand. Yes. So, like I said, that AI could only be helping. If your question is with regard to the registration or with regard to the solving of the disputes of the IP. All right. So, in the upcoming areas and non-traditional types of IP, there's nothing much that AI could do, because even the humans are still struggling to, let's say, finalize and have a whole structure of it. But definitely, as the AI keeps on improving and enhancing itself as it is meant to be, if we have that kind of a database that is able to, let's say, demarcate it very clearly into black and white terms, that if such and such conditions are met, then yes, olfactory could be granted, or such kind of patents or such new innovative trademarks or such things could be granted. All right. So it's all about the criteria that are being mentioned. All right.
Okay, so I hope that answers the question. And the next question is, your view on as an industrial age company is termed as an artificial person. Now in knowledge economy, the knowledge-based thinking software would be a legal entity by itself who can be termed equivalent to a natural person as it can innovate and also do new creative thinking, taking legality to a new dimension. Like if Watson makes a mistake or is or its interpreter, a doctor or a lawyer, makes a mistake, then how would the legal situation be taken? What would be the legal solution for it? All the participants, I request that could you please write in the chat box if I'm audible or not? Okay. So I think sir's connection is a little okay. So we have sir back.
Yeah, sorry for the short tech glitch. Yeah.
It's completely fine. So we are relying on technology over here and discussing technology as well. So I hope
Wonderful.
Lal Tejwani, I hope you were discussing the legal solution that can be taken in that. Should I repeat the question?
Yeah, please once.
Okay, sir. So your view on as an industrial age company, I'm also copying this question as a new message in the chat box for your reference. You can see the question in the chat box now.
Definitely. Yeah, I see that.
Your view on as an industrial age company is termed as an artificial person. Now in knowledge economy, the knowledge-based thinking software would be a legal entity by itself who can be termed equivalent to a natural person as it can innovate and also do new creative thinking, taking legality to a new dimension. Like if Watson makes a mistake or its interpreter, a doctor or lawyer makes a mistake, then how would the legal solution be taken?
All right, wonderful. So, that is exactly some of the questions that I had, conclude the session with, because such of the questions are still unanswered, and even the top legal minds and top notch of, let's say, even the tech people are still struggling to have their opinions onto it. So still, as per my views, I would like to answer that question. All right. So that is all about the legal aspect that we need to understand. And like I mentioned, I've been talking about the legalities and the basically the liabilities that one particular AI or the any of the AIs that are in term right now need to have such kind of stipulated rights and responsibilities. All right. So until they are not codified, you and me cannot, let's say, put up our views, or we cannot highlight, or we cannot even say whether that thing could be criminally liable, or the creator of that particular AI would be vicariously be held liable because of the creation that it has made. All right. So that would once again depend on the AI personhood, whether it is granted or not. Secondly, do we have the legislators making that clear into their upcoming laws, that whether this kind of let's say, certain kind of a technology, or the trademark or patent could be given to them, or whether they are criminally held liable, or what is their particular aspects or take on it. All right. So that would once again depend totally on the legislative intent and how we have the upcoming laws with regard to AI and their liability, of course.
Okay, sir. So, and the next question is, what is the area according to you that additionally that can potentially utilize AI?
All right. So like I've been suggesting to all of you that like the potent use and the even the data that I demonstrated, the most of the uses with regard to AI have right now been mostly, let's say, with the basic industry of cybersecurity, right? Then healthcare, like I had mentioned about IBM Watson. There were other examples. Then even to potently right now we are not that much using it with regard to the law enforcement. That is not being used Yes, but yes, like I had given you other examples, a lot of automated technologies with regard to the customer grievances and customer feedback mechanisms and customer care services have been using AI. Yes, just like the chat boxes and normal things where it can be done, right?
Okay, sir.
That's it.
So, can you share your views on AI in business as you explained and its compliance with competition law?
All right. So, with regard to coming back to the business, it would once again bring in all of the corporate dimensions and even the contracts, right? Because without having contract drafting, without getting to know the fundamentals, it is merely impossible to take care of the business laws and its possibility of getting that. All right. So, for that, we need to have proper constructs and proper understanding of the contract stipulations. All right. So the contract law that is being taught to all of us, let's say in most of the law institutes, are pretty limited with regard to the fundamentals and basics. All right. So while that is of course the foundation, but they might not be enough for you guys to take you to the next level with regard to the business laws. All right. So for that, you need to have a better understanding of let's say licensing agreements, other agreements, let's say even with regard to like IPR, right? So the advancements and the contract drafting abilities need to be there, and only then uh, the AI could be helping you in such a manner that the pre-existing contracts, right? So if you directly have a repository, right? For example, right now we have lots of, for example, you need to make a project on certain topic. All right. So what you basically do is you get back to the existing prevalent knowledge or the data that is available to you on the public domain. All right. So while let's just assume that right now, if we do not have that kind of a leverage of having all of the contracts already being existed and made for you, it might be very easy for the business law application and the contract drafting if that AI has a repository and AI is actually helping you to directly pick and choose, and you do not even need to search by keywords. The artificial intelligence is able to get those contracts made for you directly by just letting it know the intricacies of the contract. All right.
Okay, I
So
hope
that's
that
for that
answers
question.
the
Sure,
I
sure.
hope that answers
And
the question of Anshul. And the next question is that if AI-driven car is involved in any accident and the case is brought under 279 IPC, then who shall be responsible?
come once again, please. With
Yes,
regard to, yeah.
if AI-driven car is involved in any accident and a case is brought under 279 IPC, then who
Yeah.
shall be responsible?
All right. So, like, just with regard to the thing that I mentioned, since the legislation is not there, we'll just be going through the prevalent areas. It would be, let's say, just occupying by the tortious liability if that is applicable, and that would be done until and unless we have legislations, right? So the basic questions and the most of the problems that we face, and even I see more questions coming up. They are once again limiting our research or limiting our discussion to a level, since we do not have that kind of legislation to check up the liability aspect. So I hope you are able to understand the points, right?
Yes,
So that is it. That would make it. I would
yes.
just want to just wrap up with the session, and would love to have your feedback if possible, right? So any
Uh,
of you requested,
before that,
yeah,
before that, so
yeah.
there's another question that how do you feel law will evolve in response to AI?
So that is once again the legislation part that I've been talking about once again. So I feel, yeah. So now this particular question could be taken up by my views actually, right? So I would take the liberty of answering your question, right? So that would be basically trying to have that kind of a evolution of AI by the laws with regard to AI by stipulating the various dimensions. Just like we humans, we have each and every dimension of let's say our interaction, or everything is codified, right? So if we commit let's say the offense of theft, the offense of murder, we have the penalties prescribed to us in the IPC. The processes are there in the CRPC. The evidence act is applicable to us. So similarly, to address all of these provisions, the civil criminal liabilities, IPR aspects with regard to AI, it is imperative to have that kind of a codification done. All right, and then only we would be able to apply those sets of laws to the AI. And once again, that is hypothetically obtained when AI is being granted the personhood. All right, so then and only then would we be talking about the liabilities with regard to AI, or until then, as we have been having other questions with regard to that, who would be the person liable if its goes wrong, until the AI is not being granted its own individual personhood. All right. So the vicarious liability provisions would be made applicable, and let's say we'll just be going by the principle of natural justice till we do not have codifications in such a manner.
Okay, I hope that answered the question. And for to take a break, I would really like to mention to all the audience that there's another webinar at 9 being held by LawSikho by Ramanuj sir. And I request everyone to kindly register for the same. I'm sending the link in the chat box. Please go through it. And there's another blog that LawSikho is handling, and that is also being handled by Ramanuj sir, the CEO of LawSikho, regarding IPR only, and it's very beneficial if you would go for it. And to add one more thing, that there's another WhatsApp group that LawSikho operates, especially catering to the needs of IP lawyers. So I request everyone to kindly join that WhatsApp group and see if it proves beneficial for you. And there are many requests that we are getting as well for sir, that if you can please share the PPT. So I would suggest sir that sir would send the PPT to me, and
Sure, sure.
LawSikho would be providing that PPT to every attendee that is here in this session in the mail.
All right, and I have also shared my details just in case someone would like to have a contact. All right, so there is my LinkedIn ID, and just as Himi mentioned, I would just try my best and share the other material with all of you if required. Any additional ways as well. All right, so that's it.
Sir, I think there's another question coming up, that
All right.
there's a question by Pavan. I have that Pavan has seen many patents regarding to AI till date in his company, and
Yeah.
was wondering how these patents related to AI are getting granted. Are there any laws currently applicable to AI patents?
So no, right? So that is exactly what we have been discussing throughout this time, right? So these kinds of, let's say, the discussion that we have been doing since the last 1.5 hour almost is about that only. That, right now we do not have such kind of stipulated laws for that, and we're still just waiting for that moment, and we are waiting for such laws to be actually being granted the areas, and let's say when legislative proceedings would be coming up. Only after that we would be able to uh, take that up. All right, so if that answers the question.
So, with that, we conclude our session for today, and it was indeed a very enriching session. I'm sure many of you, almost all of you, each of the audience got an insight into artificial intelligence and how it would affect the field of IPR. And I hope everyone joins the session at 9, and we would see everyone in the next webinar. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
All right. So just one before we just leave,
Yes,
since
sir.
most
Yes,
of
sir.
them they had been wanting the let's say the PPTs and all. I could appreciate if I could just share that this particular link with all of you, and you will be able to access that directly. All right. So yeah, basically it's a short response in this part that I would share, and it's a short form as well. And once you're done with that, we'll be able to even share the PPTs like you mentioned, right? So I'm
Yes,
just
sir.
sharing the link with all of you.
So make sure you address it to all the panelists and attendees.
Sure,
Something.
sure, sure, sure. So yeah, there is the feedback form, and you're most welcome to fill that up, and I'll be trying to just mail all of those who have filled that. All right. So it was lovely having all of you over here. Once again, thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. And thank you everyone for joining in. Please do go through that WhatsApp link that I have sent and the blog. And please, if possible, I know it's a festival time and all, and you must be busy, but do join in for the session 9.
Sure. You may also convey my best regards to Ramanujan.
Sure, sir.
I'm sure this has been a great thing. And once again, thanks to all the participants. Do not forget to copy that link with yourselves and fill that up to get the PPTs. All right, guys. Thank you.
I request everyone in the audience to please do fill up the feedback form for sir. And also, I would be taking up the PPT, and LawSikho would be sending the PPT along with every other information that you need in mail. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.